Hi Roos, thank you very much for being here today to talk about Early Career Investigator.
Hi Ilaria.
So how is it for you to be an early career investigator?
For me personally, it has been a great experience. At the start of the cost action, I was still a senior postdoc, but since then, in the 4 years of the cost action, this has changed, and I'm now associate professor and a principal investigator at my institute, and I'm convinced that participating in the cost action has had a huge influence on that.
So, can you tell us a little bit more what the core group is and what, your job has been?
Well, the core group, we often had Skype meetings, and during those Skype meetings, the different workshops were discussed, for example, the topics of the workshops. And in the core group, I was mainly responsible for the STSMs, or the short-term scientific missions. And related to that, I had to take care of the applications, of the administrative part of the applications. Of course, the decisions whether or not to grant the STSMs, they were taken by the core group, but I had to communicate with the applicants and let them know what they had to submit and whether it was granted or not. Other roles within the cost action, for example, I was responsible, or I took the responsibility to write one of the reviews, of course together with a lot of other people, but I was at the end the last author, and I really tried to combine all the parts of the review.
Obviously you have, you've come a long way career-wise. I mean, this is what, most people starting a PhD want to achieve, so that is excellent. Can you say a little bit more, what did you get out of it?
Being part of the cost action has been different because the focus there is really the networking, and this was one aspect. I think if I look back 4 years ago, that was one of the things that I always said that I was not good at, and I really had to force myself at a conference to talk to people, to interact with people. So I really learned that scientists in general are really open to network and to talk, and that has had a huge influence on my confidence in networking in general.
Can you give us an example of, what type of in what way your network has changed?
So during the cost action, several people visited my lab via an STSM. For example, 2 visited my lab for 2 months and 1 for 2 weeks, and they came from all over Europe, so Austria, Serbia, Croatia, and with all 3 labs I still collaborate, so it has been very productive. I already published 1 paper based on results that were obtained in my lab during an STSM, and 2 are still in preparation, so it has been really productive. I got to know several people at several of the cost meetings, and this resulted in invitations to go to other labs all over Europe to give a seminar. And also there, it's even resulted in a grant application together with another group, and those people, I would never have known them without the cost action.
So, if you were now a young early career investigator, what advice would you give them if they just come across a cost action?
First of all, don't hesitate to participate to the cost action. You can find online which ones are available, and the sooner you start participating, the better. And then once or twice a year you have the meetings, and really go to them and try to be as active as possible. I still remember the first workshop, which was quite intensive. So there were round table discussions, and I was responsible for reporting, and so I had to take notes during the round table discussion, but I also had to wrap up at the end. And I still remember beforehand that was quite stressful, because you have to interact very fast and gather all the information and try to formulate the opinion at the end of all the people that were sitting around the table. And doing that, and let's say being forced to do that, was really good and was a very good exercise, and it had an influence on my confidence in general on other meetings, and learning to speak up when needed, and when you want to express your opinion. That I think I gained this confidence, let's say, to do that. There are always questions related to people that are willing to write for a review or to maybe take minutes during the meeting. Just do it and try to be as active as possible, and it will only help your career, I'm sure.